Have you ever stood up from your chair for just a moment, maybe to grab a glass of water, check your phone, or step into the kitchen, and when you came back, your seat was already gone? Not messy, not disturbed, completely taken over. Your cat is sitting right there in the exact spot you were just in, curled up like they've been waiting all day for that moment. Most people laugh when this happens. It looks like your cat just pulled off a tiny act of rebellion. But here's the strange part most cat owners never stop to consider. Your cat didn't choose just any seat in the room. They chose yours. Out of the couch, the window ledge, the soft blanket across the room. They walked straight past everything else and settled into the one place that still carries your warmth and your scent. That choice isn't random. In fact, this tiny behavior is one of the clearest signals your cat sends about how they feel about you. And once you understand what's really happening, you might never look at that stolen seat the same way again. Because the real reason begins with something your cat notices instantly: your scent. When your cat climbs into the seat you just left, the very first thing they notice isn't the warmth. It's your scent. A cat's sense of smell is dramatically stronger than ours, roughly 14 times more sensitive. So while that chair may seem ordinary to you, to your cat, it's filled with layers of information. It carries the subtle oils from your skin, the faint chemistry your body leaves behind, the familiar smell that tells them exactly who has been there. And in the animal world, scent isn't just a smell, it's a message. To your cat, your scent signals something simple and powerful. This place is safe. Studies in animal behavior have shown that cats exposed to their owner's scent often display noticeably lower stress responses compared to unfamiliar smells. In other words, the presence of your scent can actually help calm their nervous system. That's why when you stand up and leave your seat behind, your cat often appears almost immediately, settling into the exact spot where your scent is strongest. They aren't trying to steal your place. They're surrounding themselves with the one signal in the room that feels the most reassuring. It's a little like a child holding onto a parent's jacket or pillow when that person isn't nearby. But scent doesn't only represent safety in a cat's world. It also plays another role, one that quietly turns your chair into something much more meaningful than just a warm seat. Now, here's where things get even more interesting. When your cat settles into your seat, they aren't just absorbing your scent, they're adding their own to it. Cats have scent glands in several parts of their bodies along their cheeks, between their paw pads, and near the base of their tail. Every time they rub against something, knead a surface, or curl up in a favorite spot, they're quietly leaving behind a trace of their own scent. In the feline world, this behavior isn't about ownership in the human sense. It's about connection. Cats create social bonds through scent mixing. When two cats trust each other, they often sleep in the same spots, rub their faces together, or share resting places so their scents blend together. That mixture of scents becomes a signal that says, we belong to the same group. So when your cat lies down exactly where you were sitting, something subtle is happening. Your scent is already there. And by settling into that spot, your cat is layering their scent over it. They're merging their identity with yours. In cat language, that quiet act is surprisingly affectionate. It's similar to when your cat bumps their head against your leg when you walk through the door, or rubs their face along your hand. They're not just saying hello. They're marking you as part of their world. But there's another reason your exact seat matters so much to them. And it has to do with how closely your cat watches you every single day. Cats may look relaxed and independent most of the time, but behind that calm exterior they are constantly observing what's happening around them, day after day. They quietly watch the small patterns of life inside your home. They notice who fills the food bowl, who opens the doors, who moves through the house with purpose. Over time, those observations start forming a kind of mental map in your cat's mind. And in that map, one person often stands out more than anyone else. The person whose routine shapes the rhythm of the home. That person is usually the one your cat pays the most attention to. So when your cat chooses your specific chair instead of the sofa, the window ledge, or the cozy blanket across the room, it's not an accident. That seat represents you. In a subtle way, it becomes the place associated with the individual your cat watches the most and trusts the most. In animal behavior, location often carries meaning. The places where important individuals spend time tend to become important locations themselves. And by stepping into your seat the moment you leave it, your cat is moving into the space connected most strongly with you. But there's another very practical reason your chair becomes so irresistible the moment you stand up. And it has to do with something every cat instinctively searches for: warmth. There's also a much simpler reason your cat moves into your seat the second you stand up. And it has everything to do with heat. Cats naturally run warmer than humans. While our normal body temperature sits around 98, sex conf, a healthy cat usually ranges between 100 and 102, femolf. That difference may not sound dramatic, but it means cats are constantly drawn towards slightly warmer environments than we are. That's why they stretch out in sunny windows, curl up on freshly dried laundry, or settle right on top of a laptop that's been running for a while. Warmth saves energy. Instead of burning extra calories to maintain body temperature, a cat can simply lie on a surface that's already warm. And when you stand up from your chair, you leave behind something almost perfect, a spot that's already been heated by your body. To your cat, that chair becomes a ready-made warm bed that appeared at exactly the right moment. It's comfortable, efficient, and instinctively appealing. But comfort alone doesn't explain why your cat often chooses your exact seat over other warm places in the room. Part of the answer lies in something scientists only began studying recently. Cats learn by watching us. For a long time, people assumed cats didn't really learn from their owners. Dogs, maybe. But cats? Most people believe they simply lived alongside us without paying much attention. But newer research has started to challenge that idea. Studies on feline behavior suggest that cats are capable of something called social learning, which means they can observe the actions of others and adjust their own behavior based on what they see. And if there's one creature your cat watches more than anything else in the house, it's you. Day after day. They notice where you sit when you relax, where you spend time scrolling your phone, watching television, or reading. Over time, those patterns become familiar landmarks in their world. Your favorite chair stops being just a piece of furniture. It becomes the place where their human settles down. So when your cat moves into that exact spot the moment you leave, it may not be an act of mischief at all. In a strange way, they might simply be following your example. If this is where you feel comfortable, then maybe it must be a good place to rest. But sometimes cats seem to do something even more impressive. Occasionally, it almost feels like they knew you were about to stand up before you even moved. And that leads to another fascinating part of the story. Have you ever noticed something strange about the timing? Sometimes your cat doesn't rush to your chair after you stand up. They're already nearby. Almost like they predicted the moment before it happened. That's not your imagination. Cats are extremely skilled at recognizing patterns, living with you day after day. They quietly collect information about the smallest details of your routine. The shift of your weight before you stand. The sound of your phone being set down on the table. The tiny stretch you make before getting up to walk across the room. To you, those movements are meaningless habits. But to your cat, they become signals. Over time, your cat begins connecting those signals together, forming a reliable prediction. These actions usually mean the human is about to leave the chair. And once that pattern becomes familiar, your cat can react almost instantly. That's why it sometimes feels like they appear out of nowhere at the perfect moment. They aren't being sneaky or mischievous. They've simply mastered your routine better than you have. But when you step back and look at all these reasons together, there's one final piece that ties everything together, and it's the most meaningful one of all. So when you put all of these pieces together, the scent, the warmth, the routine, the quiet observation, it starts to reveal something deeper about that simple moment when your cat slips into your chair. In the wild, a cat cannot afford to be careless about where it rests. Sleep makes an animal vulnerable. Choosing the wrong place could mean danger. Because of that, cats instinctively look for spots that signal safety before they relax enough to curl up and close their eyes. Now think about what your chair represents from your cat's perspective. It carries the strongest trace of your scent. It holds the warmth your body left behind. It sits in the center of the space where your daily routine happens. In other words, that seat becomes a small pocket of familiarity in the room. When your cat walks past every other option, the soft blanket, the sunny window, even the expensive cat bed you bought, and instead settles into the place you just left, something very quiet but meaningful is happening. They are choosing the space that feels closest to you. In the silent language of cats, that choice says something simple and powerful. This is where I feel safest. And sometimes, the way a cat shows love isn't loud or obvious. Sometimes it's just a warm seat that suddenly isn't yours anymore.